First of all, I don't know, maybe some words also to myself before we start with the presentation. I am actually the GM of VDA QMC China already more than 5.5 years, and I have 25 years experience in automotive industry, mainly in the field of supplier development. I was many years here active in China, also for Volkswagen, and I'm now in China in total over 12 years, and I'm very happy to see also the development here in the region. It's really amazing, and I'm convinced that the future of the launch of, let's say, the technology for digitalization will be taking place in China.
好，你不要看铁教授长得这么帅，其实他已经是元老级的人物了。他 total 在汽车业已经有超过25年的工作经验，过往都是跟供应商管理、供应商发展有关系。在中国呢，他已经也有超过12年的工作经验，在 VDA QMC 担任经理也超过5年的经验哈，所以他其实是在这个行业里面非常有经验，就是经验老道了。不要看他这么年轻，其实他是非常有经验的一个元老级人物。Please.
All right, thank you. Everybody is currently talking about Taiwan, and I think you know that. I cannot be in a dialogue with you asking you a question, but I think you all know the shortage of ECUs and chips and semis, as we call it, semiconductor industry. Taiwan plays a very, very important role right now, and we will have this actually shortage of ECUs and semiconductors for a long time, because it takes a long time to build up those factories, more than 18 months. So that is why everything currently focusing also on Taiwan, and if the semiconductor industry can ramp up there. So we see the electronic parts, of course, becomes more and more important, and the demand is increasing seriously.
所以当然我们知道，各位刚才应该有了解哈，目前因为 ECU 跟这个半导体一些晶片的一些需求的关系，所以在国际间呢，关注台湾是非常多的。
So what I brought to you, for those who doesn't know us, first of all, a VDA QMC, very short introduction. Then I would like to talk what kind of new VDA standards we have actually launched in regards of digitalization. And then I would like also, like Lloyd, he said, labor force and the qualification upskill. So the qualification of the laborers is very important, and the change of the quality manager in the future is also a very big topic. So I will talk about this one. Then very quickly, I talk about the WNEVC. I don't know if you heard, but that's a worldwide NEV conference, which is always in Hainan. I was participating in 2020, and I would like to give you a very short outlook what was discussed there and what will come up for the Chinese market. And then I come up with my summary.
好的，所以他大致介绍一下哈，今天的会议主题会非常先简短的介绍中国 VDA 安，再接下来呢再介绍一下在今年呢会新出版的 VDA 的标准。那这第三个呢，就如同刚刚我们CEO 所提到的哈，这个 labor force 劳力上面、人力上面的这个提升技能，所以呢，他这边有一个非常有趣的内容，特别是分享好在新的品质经理上面新的一些能力要求有哪一些。最后呢，他会分享一下在世界能源大会去年的时候他特别去海南参加的世界新能源车的这个大会里面有哪些新的一些要求，最后做一个总结。
All right, thank you, Heidi. So then let's get started with the VDA QMC introduction.
好的，我们就来介绍 VDA QMC 中国微电安。
I make that very short because I think most of you guys knows us already. We have an office here in Beijing and Shanghai, and also a big office in Shanghai. And our headquarters is in Berlin, where all the automotive experts actually from Germany comes together, and we are working on those standards. And of course, very important, we have in Taiwan, ENCONA, which is our license partner, and they do exactly the trainings which we do now, created in our headquarters in Berlin, and they do that in Taiwan.
好的，所以 VDA 它的架构大概是这样哈 ，VDA QMC 它的总部呢是在柏林，那在中国微地安呢，就是中国分支呢，则是有2个办公室，主要是在北京以及上海。 那当然呢，在台湾我们达宽 ENCONA 则是 VDA QMC 在台湾认可合可的培训单位，我们一样是去在市场上去教这些 VDA QMC 合可的一些培训。
All right. What is our services? First of all, the German standards will be translated into Chinese language. That is the first service we do. And I think it's very important that we all need to have those Chinese standards available also, all this German standard for the automotive industry also translated into Chinese language.
是的，第一个呢，他们是负责翻译 VDA 这些标准VDA 的标准原文翻译的原文的时候都是德文，所以他会协助翻译成中文，方便我们这个地区的人阅读。
Then, of course, we do the trainings. That's, of course, the trainings which we get from Germany, but we also have some local trainings for the local Chinese market because there are sometimes some different requirements. And based on the trainings, we give them certificates. So that's the same ENCONA is doing in Taiwan. We're doing here in China.
Yes， 那再接下来当然是有这些标准以后，我们有提供相关的一些培训。那除了这个总部它所发行的标准培训以外呢，特别的是中国威迪安也会为了当地的一些人的一些需求，做一些客制化或是中国这个在地的一些特制化的一些培训。当然有培训呢，我们就会有一些资格的一些证书发证，资格的管理。
And in the last year of COVID-19, we were actually releasing a lot of new trainings and also new standards, but I come to that one more detailed later on.
是的，当然我们等一下就会对这些新的这个标准以及新的相关的一些培训呢，会做更详细的介绍。
Then, of course, we do coaching. Of course, we don't do the coaching in Taiwan. That will be done by ENCONA, in particular currently where we cannot come over. But it's sometimes very important after training that you really need to do training on the job and also explain how you implement certain standards and what kind of process are required. So that is what we do, let's say, on the shop floor and also with our customers directly in their plants.
是的，再接下来就是所谓的辅导哈，他们叫做 coaching， 当然上完课以后怎么在我们的工作的实际工作的这个 content 里面怎么去做实际应用，那我们也有辅导的一些业务。那当然因为目前一些疫情的关系，或是呢一般来说coaching 辅导这样子的业务是由达宽角色来去做扮演。
What we do as well is conferences like what we have today, a lot of networking, with experts to inform everyone. And I would like to share with you on the next page what kind of conference we have done in the last year.
当然我们还在这个公益里面做一些交流，资讯交流，就像我们今天所举办的研讨会一样。
All right, so oh no, it's not the next, it's first here. So in regards of the standards, I think you all know that are the VDA standards, which we are working on. But there's also the IATF 6949 standard for quality management system, where VDA, of course, is representing the German automotive industry in the International Automotive Task Force, IATF. And we also release the AIG, with AIG, the FMEA standard or handbook. I think you're all aware about that one. So that's about the standards.
我想大家应该都蛮熟悉哈，这张图也蛮熟悉的。基本上呢 ，VDA QMC 呢是针对这些德系的汽车业德系的一些车厂供应链呢，去制定 VDA 这些德系的一些品质标准。那当然，在国际上，国际通用的汽车品质的要求呢，则是有 IATF 这样子的一个角色，尤其是 IATF 16949，我相信大家都比较熟悉。那在里面呢，也有美系的代表 AIAG，VDA 跟 AIAG 呢，德美之间呢，目前也有合作出版了一版 FMEA 这样子的手册。
All right, then very important is that we have also a steering committee here in China, actually, where you see all our members, of course, all the German OEMs, but also a lot of suppliers from Germany, which are, of course, having production facilities and headquarters here in China, not headquarters, Chinese headquarters or Asian headquarters. And very important that we give input also to Germany in our days. We're not only waiting until they give us a standard, so we also have input to them when they're working on standard. For three topics mainly currently: product integrity, I come to that one later, that's the product safety requirements and product compliance requirements. Then for automotive cybersecurity, also very important. And then also for the software quality advisory board. So everything would have to do with automotive spice and software, that is where we're working on and giving an input to Germany that they can also take care in the working groups in Germany about the Chinese, let's say, request and voice.
所以在中国微电案其实还有个很重要的角色哈，在左边你可以看到，其实除了车厂以外，还有很大德系的Tier 1呢，还有因为他们的在亚洲或者是中国都有设置总部，所以中国微电案很重要的是在这边亚太地区收集我们当地的一些资讯，将我们的需求 feedback 回馈给我们德国，所以这些标准不一定是只有被动的让德国的这个committee 这些委员会或是所谓的 project group 这样的小组去做制定。那在中国的这个我们主要 focus 在3个主题哈，第一个是产品诚信，第二个呢则是汽车业的网络安全管理系统，再来呢还有所谓的软体开发、软体相关的一些品质要求，包含大家可能也蛮熟悉的所谓的 ASPICE 等等软体相关的，这也都是我们目前中国微地安很积极在市场上好跟业界做这个资讯的收集，然后 feedback 给我们 VDA QMC 德国总部。Please go ahead.
All right. Here you can also see the new training catalog. You can download it on our webpage. And you see we have categories like auditor qualification, quality management methods and tool, and also software quality. That is very important, where we also included the cybersecurity issues on that one, and OTA issues. We have other trainings as well, and what is totally new is also the management training, because it's very important that the management need to understand in this time of transformation towards digitalization, that they also understand what kind of changes are requested, and I think that is very important.
好的，所以这个也是目前中国微地安在今年2021年的这个培训目录，除了我们以往常见的稽核员培训、品质管理工具、软体，还有其他核心工具哈，或是一些品质相关的工具以外呢，最重要在右下角我们有看到企业管理阶层的培训，尤其我们现在在处于一个数字化所谓数位化的一个阶段，我们的管理阶层要怎么样去调整我们的一些 mindset， 去接受这样子的一个新的一些挑战，所以我们也开发了很多针对管理阶层的培训。
So the next one is our event calendar for 2021. Last year, we were running a lot of new online conferences, and we also launched, we call it the COD conference for digitalization, where we're talking about the digitalization topics. So you can see we have also online events. So even from Taiwan, you can join. But for this year, what is important, what we have planned is first of all, this conference, that's a conference for automotive spice, which is always in Shanghai. And the next one will be in July. You can see it here, 7th to 9th. And that will not be an online conference, that will be a face-to-face conference.
好的，这个是完整哈，中国微地安在今年2022年完整的一些活动日历。那当然我们中国微地安在去年开始就有很多新的哈，主要是以线上活动来去举办线上的一些形式。所以在刚刚有提到6月的时候呢，有一个所谓的 Digitalization 哈，数位化的一些讨论数位化的论坛。那这个是线上举行的，所以各位如果有兴趣，当然就可以线上的形式在6月的时候参加这个 COD 这样的活动。那另外一个比较大的呢，只是现在荧幕上你所看到，在7月的时候呢，有所谓的 SYS， 这是呢针对 ASPICE 汽车业的一些软体成熟度开发等等这个主题所设置的一个活动。那目前这个活动是 face to face 实体要参加的，如果未来你可以挑战克服这些疫情的一些困难，也欢迎大家参加。
The next conference, it's also a very important one, is for product integrity. We do it together with a recall authority, so DPAC. That's Dr. Shao. He's responsible for all recalls in China, actually. So he's not so much loved by the, let's say, OEMs, but he's always joining on our conference. And also the working group leader from Germany here is joining, but then he is, of course, online joining. So we have the Product Integrity Day in October.
另外呢，在10月也有个重要的一个会议就是所谓的产品诚信日所以在这边呢，他当然会邀请中国的一些官方代表 这个肖博士哈是 DPAC 的代表，以及呢这个德国撰写 PI 的这个主要的代表人也会来中国参加这样子的会议。
All right, and then of course we have online events, a lot of them. You can see we have already done something for VDA2 and also for EOS. EOS stands for electric overstress, so it's for semiconductor industry and how to solve problems. This one we will also record afterwards, so you can also see that even if you didn't attend, because we put it on our webpage. But then we have the conference for online, conference on digitalization. We have a cycle. We will start there with very good keynote speakers. So there, of course, you can also join from Taiwan if you're interested.
好的，所以现在标出来哈，绿色这个指调的呢，都是线上会议的哈，尤其在3月的时候呢，还有一个这个跟EOS 哈，就是跟半导体或电子业比较有关系的。那如果已经错过也没关系，这样子的线上会议呢，他们都有录影，而且有放在网上面，可以给大家去观看。所以有兴趣的人哈，可以去观看它的录影。那新的呢，在6月以及8月，就是我们刚刚提到的有数位化的一个论坛，都欢迎大家去报名参加。
All right, so then let's get started to the VDA new standards and training overview. All right, I have an overview here for you with a lot of new standards we have actually released in the year 2020. You can see there was a lot of work done, but I would like to highlight in particular on the new one because I think that are the most important one. Of course, FMEA has been only updated in 2020, but you should know what is really updated in the errata sheet. So there was also an update in 2020. You can see really a lot of changes in the standards, and you need to know about those changes if you at least delivering in the supply chain to German OEM.
好，所以在画面上你可以看到哈，从去年到今年2020年到2021年，有非常多的新标准发布。那当然，铁教授已经用他的红线帮我们标出来最重要的哈，是左下角你看到这些最重要的。那当然 FMEA 也有更新。那如果你之前就已经购买这样子的手册的话，非常请你留意一下哈，有没有更新的一些刊物表，请你再重新对了一下你目前手上有的一些手册，去了解这些新的标准，还有这些既有标准的一些刊物，对于你，尤其是你是提交到我们德系的供应链里面是非常重要的一个工作。
And this book is yellow because it's only a draft. You can see here it's Automotive Spice for Cybersecurity. And we have also a new book, and I come to that one later on, for cybersecurity. Yeah, that is where I will like to explain a little bit more to you. That's the Automotive Cybersecurity Management System audit. So how we do cybersecurity management system audits is actually a questionnaire. And I come to this later on. It's just been released and we're currently translating it. It will be very soon available in Chinese. So we expect that in beginning of April that we will start to sell this new book.
好的，那你在这个红线框起来的有一个黄色的这个我不要讲小黄书啦，就是所谓的草稿版。那只是汽车业用的这个 A-Spice 哈，那是应用在软体安全上面。那目前它还是草稿版，很快呢就会 release 正式发行。那中国 VDA 目前也在着手翻译当中，预计在今年的4月初即将也会发行中文版。那这个手册里面的内容当然对我们的这个供应链非常重要。等一下铁教授呢也会帮我们仔细的说明。
So because I'm looking a little bit also to the time, I just wanted to give you this overview. First of all, this is our working groups, which are active. So you can see here, that's on the German webpage. You can navigate that one. And there you can see the project groups, which are active. So the gray one means that are active working groups, all right? The yellow one means it's a draft. That was a yellow book I just presented to you. And the red one means that is new standards, which has been released. Okay, so, and then we have also some working groups which are continuously working, which are always ongoing because those projects only limited for a certain time.
好的，如果你想要了解这些新版的这个标准发布的一些进程，欢迎可以到 VDA QMC 德国的网站上面有一个 project group， 上面都有这个详细的公布。那在灰底的部分呢，就代表是未来预计要执行的工作，目前正在商讨当中。黄色的话呢，则代表它的草稿版已经发行。 红色呢则代表呢这是新的发布的一个标准，绿色的话呢则是目前已经发表的一个标准，但是呢因为一些企业上或是科技上的一些挑战，所以还是持续讨论中，而且持续会做更新。
All right, and you can see here also that the VDA 6.3 process audit is currently in a revision level. So we're expecting actually by the middle of the next year a new VDA 6.3. I will come later to that one, what we will change. Of course, we will change to VDA 6.3 also in regards of digitalization and software. That's something very important.
好的，尤其是你在画面上如果看得到的话，可以看到 VDA 6.3也正是在讨论什么时候要改版，尤其是时程呢是定在明年2022年的年中啊，所以等一下呢，当然我知道大家都非常关心这个消息，所以等一下铁明教授也会帮我们稍微做一下说明。其他的呢，还有这个所谓的 Digitalization， 就是数位化的一些品质管理，等一下我们铁教授也会帮我们做说明。
So this overview is really very important, but maybe difficult for you always to understand and track. It's published, you can always see it. If you have a question, you can ask us. And I tried to give you a little overview on a roadmap, let's say, on a way, a project management. Here is our milestones, actually, maturity levels, as we call it, from 0 to number 7. And you can see here there's O series, there's a SOP, and there's a EOP. So I tried to explain you which kind of standards are important for you.
好的，铁教授呢，现在就用一个专案开发的一些流程，以 MLA 这个 ML0到7这样8个专案开发的这个时程表里程碑，简短的帮大家介绍一下，在各个阶段可能会应用到的 VDA 标准。那下面你也看到所谓的 OC 就是试产 ，SOP 是启动量产，还有 EOP 就是我们的量产就是结束生产的这样的阶段。
And excuse me if we need to run a little bit faster through that one because of the time. You know, I can talk for this one for a whole day, but I will try to do it very short, okay? So first of all, the input is, of course, the customer-specific requirements from Volkswagen, from BMW, and from Daimler, the special terms. That special terms has been also renewed in the last year, in 2020. So you need to know it, and we are summarizing this in our CSR booklet. Yeah, so that's of course always an input for any project because you need to understand and fulfill that one, even before quotation.
那我们知道，如果我们要开始开发，或是甚至在这个做整个的 prepare 这个阶段，我们需要非常了解我们的顾客的 CSR。所以呢 ，VDA 有一个标准叫做 CSR 顾客特定标准，这里面整理出来最重要的3大德系 OEM、Volkswagen 还有 BMW 跟戴姆勒集团的 CSR 整理为这个标准。
Then very important is the VDA2, and usually I always ask who knows VDA2, and the answer will be very little because most of you know PPAP, but you have no clue about VDA2. VDA2 is exactly the same as PPAP, it's just more precise, and I will share later on one chart for you because software is included in this one, how we're releasing it, and you need to get alignment meeting in the early stage. So that are the alignment meeting in the early stage, and later when we come to the first produced parts, then of course VDA2 also plays a very important role.
好，接下来2号你会看到所谓的是 VDA 2 PPA 这个标准，通常他以前会询问，可能大家对 VDA 2这样的标准并不是很熟悉，反而你会常常听到或是实际使用的则是 AIAG 美国 AIAG 的 PPAP 这样子的标准。那其实这个2个手册里面呢，本质上并没有太大的差别，但是德系的 VDA 2 PPA 相对的比较仔细，而且最重要的是它包含软体的 submission 也把软体涵盖在它里面的范围。那当然铁教授等一下也会帮我们介绍 VDA 2里面的内容。
Then later on, of course, is very important the FMEA. This is based on the FMEA handbook and the 7th step. Of course, first the design FMEA if you have design responsibility. Afterwards, process FMEA. And out of the process FMEA, we are then creating the control plan. So you need to know about the changes which were coming in the last year.
再接下来呢，就是我们熟悉的 FNEA 手册。如果你有产品设计的话，你要做 DFNEA。再接下来你会做这个制程的一些开发、制程的一些规划，你就会做所谓的 PFNEA。在这 FNEA 分析的结果呢，则会产出我们所谓的控制计划 （Control Plan）。
So afterwards, then, of course, when you start with your production, building it up, it's very important how you do measurements, okay? And therefore, there is an American standard from AIG, which is called MSA. This is very well known, but there is a VDA 5, and the VDA 5 is much more precise. And that one is also revised, and it will be launched in April or May. That is some new requirements which will be very important for you, the VDA 5.
在接下来呢，我们就需要确定我们的量测系统或是所谓量测过程的一些能力，所以在市场上大家比较常听到是 AIG 的 MSA， 那在德系呢也有一个叫做 VDA 5哈这样子的一个手册。VDA 5相对也是会比较的 precise， 它用的比较精确。那这本手册呢，也是预计在今年年中就会正式出版。
And then, of course, we have all the quality tools, you know, you need to use, for example, SPC, the CPK and CP and CPK values you need to measure. It's also important to track, the capability of your manufacturing processes. That is all written in the core tools book.
在接下来的制造阶段呢，你可能就会需要各式各样的一些其他的一些核心工具，尤其是你们可能会听到所谓的 SPC 或者是其实我们在德系的 VDA 4里面有类似的工具，我们会计算或是用 CP、CPK 等等的方式来去监控，来去聆听我们制程的声音，了解我们目前制造过程的一些能力，了解我们制程的状况。
And of course, what is also in additional very important, also already in the R&D phase, so in the planning phase, that's the product integrity. But of course, it's becoming much more important when you really produce parts. So product integrity means product safety and compliance issues you need to take care of. And then, of course, also to do audits based on VDA 6.3 and VDA 6.5.
当然这个我们上面5号跟6号要求是在规划阶段就要做考量，那尤其是在量产的时候呢，我们更要去做生产线检查所以这样子的一些活动我们有一个标准叫做 PI 产品诚信，里面提到 PSCR 这样子的代表人，还有呢我们必须要用 VDA 6.3 做制程稽核，以及 VDA 6.5 来做产品稽核。
And of course, then we have the field failure analysis during the production phase after SOP and end of production. We have the field failure analysis and the problem solving based on 8D. That is also something important here.
那当然我们量产以后交货以后呢，有可能所谓的顾客的一些客退品这样子的一些或是客诉抱怨这样子的状况发生的时候呢，我们就需要参考 FFA 还有所谓 8D 这样子的手册工具来去做客诉处理、客退分析。
And to have a PDCA loop in place and to have also lessons learned, of course, and the feedback, what we learned, what we have to improve for the next process needs to go into the lessons learned.
好的，那当然我们要持续的做 CIP 持续改善，那我们就要善用我们的经验教训，所以有这个 lessons learned 经验教训这样子一个手册。
Okay, so this book has been also just translated into Chinese. It took a little longer. All right, now let's come very quickly to those topics, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let me explain to you a little bit more detail.
好的，那接下来我们再来介绍 VDA 2比较仔细的介绍 VDA 2。
So first of all, it's very important to understand all the requirements, and not only this one by the customer. You, of course, also need to understand all legal requirements. This is very important. Here in China, that means you need to understand all the GB requirements, but then also the requirements from international standard like ISO standards. We will talk later with DEKRA about the functional safety standard here. Then industry-specific requirements, that is the ERTF, but also the VDA standard, and then comes the customer requirements, and then comes the organizational internal requirements. So all that are a tremendous important input to have a compliant product process in place and to assure compliance issues.
为了要确保我们的产品过程，或甚至呢，我们可以符合品质要求以及法律法规的要求。上面这个 slide 所看到的这些各式各样，在这个4个结构之下，有相关的法律符合性，还有呢标准国际上的一些标准的一些国际上的标准规范 ISO 相关的一些规范，还有呢汽车业行业特用的，比如说 IATF、VDA 等等这些汽车业常用的规范，以及顾客的要求，还有你们自己组织自己所制定的一些内规，这些呢都是我们应该要去符合去考量的要求。
All right. So then of course the VDA2 is very important because we need, and this is a document which is need to check the compliance. We need to release and have alignment meetings with our customers, what kind of approval he wants to do. Can we do a self-assessment, or does he want to see the part and he want to measure this by himself? And what is also important, the software release is included in this one. And these PPA documents are really very important in regards you will have any serious, like say, field returns or field failures. Then it's very important, how did you release the products? And did you release the products with the best knowledge and state of the art? That is most important.
好的，在 VDA 2这里面呢，是提到啊，你要怎么一开始就跟你的顾客去确认啊，我们要怎么去做量产产品的一些放行，是我们自己做文件审查提供给顾客就好呢，还是顾客需要来我们厂内或者实际看到产品？尤其是当我们的产品里面有含到软体的时候，好，就是你有所谓的嵌入式软体的时候，那更要把软体纳入我们产品核准的一些行列。还有呢，这个时程上，你有没有跟顾客做比较好的一些沟通确认？那也可以配合顾客 launch 的时间，那等等这些呢，都是其实在 VDA 2里面告诉我们供应商里面要特别去留意的。
And very important is also ensure the whole timeline about for the entire supply chain. So that means tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and we have a lot of tier 2 and tier 3 suppliers in Taiwan. So you need to know about the VDA2. It's a must. You must understand that one.
还有呢，这个除了有 Tier 1跟 OEM 之间的一些时程上，或是这些提交的一些讨论以外呢，最重要是在整个供应链里面，不管是2阶、3阶、4阶等等，在你的供应链里面，当然你的时程都要 align，把它合规在一起。尤其在台湾呢，有很多都是2阶跟3阶供应商的角色，你非常要留意。就跟刚刚铁教授说啊，你 must，你一定要了解 VDA 2。
Okay, very shortly here, what we're doing here. First, we have the product development verification and the production process development validation, and products and process needs to be released by your customer. And you have an alignment meeting in the early stage. So there you decide if you do the self-assessment and archive it yourself, or if you need to send it to the OEM in an appendix. There's all these forms needs to be used, can be also used in electronic form, of course. And then they have the PPA evaluation on the OEM side, which is then represented in the cover sheet. And what is very important is that we also have now an appendix for software release. That is totally new. And when we compare that also with the PPAP, there is no issue about the software and how do we release software. So that is definitely a totally different requirement, which is in addition, only existing currently for the German automotive industry, but it's a must, it's a mandatory delivery.
好的，那当然我们会做产品跟制程的一些开发。那我们在一开始呢，在这个附件2里面呢，我们会跟顾客按照附件2这个协议里面去决定我们提交的方式。如果我们是自我审查，我们就按照附件3里面做自我审查。但是如果是需要顾客双向来你现场去做一些相对一些评价的话呢，你需要参考这里面的附件1、4。来做现场的一些审查。最重要的是现在画面上所框起来这个部分，如果你的产品有含软体，那你是必须要把软体含在你的这个PPA 你的这个 PPA 报告里面。那目前跟美系 PPAP 最大的不同就是 PPAP 并没有含软体，这个是目前在德系里面，尤其是 VDA 2里面，尤其是你如果目前被顾客要求要做 VDA 2 PPA， 那就是一个非常完全新的一个改变，新的一个要求。
So just for you, this standard has been released already in April. All right, now the OEMs, the German OEMs, also take a certain while until they're implementing this new standard into their own processes. Then the tier 1 will implement it, like Bosch, Conti, and so on, Heller. And then, of course, they will maybe, or not maybe, then they will require that one also for the tier 2 and for the tier 3. So that means this requirements will soon come up in this year. We're expecting a rollout for adjusting these requirements within 12 to 18 months, let's say.
那这个标准去年8月就 release 哈 ，OEM 会有一些时间来去做执行。那我们可以预见，至少在明年年中哈，在这个供应链里面普及的一些要求，很快就会从 OEM 来去要求我们的供应链里面的。
All right, so then, of course, and I don't want to say so much about that, we have, of course, with new technology, a new risk, and we have so many fire cases also on new energy vehicles. I'm coming to that one later on for the WNEVC, that, of course, the FMEA handbook is very important, so you need to take care about that one to reduce the risk on early stage already for new technology.
当然，有一些新能源的时候，我们发现这些新能源车最近都有很多起火燃烧这样子的一个故障事件哈。当然，他们其实应该在 FMEA 这样子的一个工具里面呢，就可以分析这样子的风险。
All right, then what is also new is the VDA 5 measurements and inspection process is similar to the AIG MSA, but has more content into that one. And we revised this one because you can see here, all those standards, I don't want to bother you with, they have been updated 2017, 2015, 2016, and so on. So there were a lot of updates, but our standard was from 2011. So there is a new one very soon to be released in 2021. So we expect that in May. And what is very good, we have the requirements which are defined, and then we have a guideline book. So that's a pretty good guideline book defining specific guidelines for you, how you should build up your measurement systems. I think that is very practical approach, very good.
那在接下来是所谓 VDA 5，它会跟 AIG 的 MSA 类似，但是呢，你在可以画面左边看到哈 ，VDA 5呢，相较于其他对于量测上面的一些标准是相对比较新的啊，而且呢 ，VDA 5也涵盖比较多，相对于 AIG MSA 涵盖比较多相关的一些标准。那这个手册更好的是呢，在右方画面上右方，你还看到所谓的实务操作指南。当然我们都知道，MSA 可能会有一些统计相关，但是有一个实务操作指南，将可以协助我们的这个导入使用者哈，更可以确实的应用在他的工作里面。
All right, I don't want to bother you too much with this one because of the time also, but here you can see the overview of all those chapters, and what is here in blue, that is also something which is newly implemented into that one, and that's a risk approach, actually, inspection of process management, of course, for measurement systems, and there it's very important that you evaluate also the risk to have failures in the measurement system, and how you can actually avoid that one. So this is something very, very important.
好的，那这边呢，特别是蓝底标起来的部分呢，就是新的，而且是比较特殊的概念哦。这里面还特别用风险导向里面来去考量我们的这个检测、量测的标准对我们来做量测标准的一些管理。
So this booklet gives you a very good overview about how you set up a measurement system, how you do the inspection process, and how you measure in the process, and how you to provide also user orientation in this guideline, to the industry, that they really do proper measurements and of course proper actions out of that. Because if you measure wrong, you cannot have the right corrective actions, of course.
那在这个实用手册里面呢，就是提供指南，协助这个使用者给他一些指南，如何去建立整个系统，然后建立设定我们整个的量测检测的一个过程。那尤其都是以使用者的导向哈，所以在我们的公益里面呢，希望可以协助这个叫做使用者手册哈，比较friendly 哈，就是可以协助我们做导入比较好参考的一个手册。
All right, now coming to the actually old requirement, I think you're familiar with this one from Volkswagen. We call it the PSB, Product Safety Representative. So we worked on a new standard called PSCR, Product Integrity. And this one is now product safety. So that was representing the PSB, but also product conformity. And this is now a requirement from all German OEMs, from Volkswagen, BMW, and Daimler. And we also included, and come to that later, also the recall management using over-the-air software updates over the air, so OTA. And this is now a part of product integrity, and I would like to introduce it to you a little later.
那 之前有一个旧的标准叫做 PSP 哈，是一个旧的培训。那当然有一个 PI 这样子新的手册里面，它已经有含到产品安全，并且加入 Product Conformity 一致性。那这个 PI 的要求已经是3大德系 OEM、Volkswagen、BMW 跟戴姆勒都同时要求的。那随着科技的更新呢，目前呢还有加上一个新的要求，叫做Recall 召回管理，而且是透过线上更新做召回管理相关的一个手册。等一下我们就来做介绍。
Okay, so of course, and because to save time, then also very important when you have serious production, of course, the VDA 6.3 audits are very important and the product audits are very important, including the management system audits. I think I don't need to mention that one.
当然就是大家都熟悉的系统16949，还有过程 VDA 6.3，还有产品 VDA 6.5的各种集合。
Okay, because you're very familiar with all those standards.
大家
All
都
right, now come to the adjustments for the future and what will be the profile of a quality manager in the future. And I would like to have actually a discussion with you on that one. But we make some studies and I would like to share that with you.
的那当然我们在数位化遇到很多挑战，所以他们也做了一些相关的一些研究哈，来跟大家分享一下这些新的研究的成果。
Maybe one day that us know some evaluation from Europe or in Germany from all our members. Maybe we should do that also for Taiwan once. So this picture actually shows you what kind of targets in the future are important for a quality manager, and that you can see it's moving into digitalization. All right, we have here automotive cybersecurity, we have homologation, we have the law, so that is of course product integrity, we have automotive spies, we have a general mindset, we have agility, so and also compliance issue here. So it's really a lot of new tasks which needs to be fulfilled by the quality manager in the future.
在这个里面，它是做中国的一些Q 的这个职业的一些调查哈。那这里面你这个类似像雷达图，你可以看到里面列出来很多，他们都认为是应该在数位化里面应该要非常要符合的一些 topic 主题，包含法律上的一些刑事认证，还有那个软体上面的cyber security 网络安全的，还有呢所谓的软体的品质，好，还有一些合规性，或甚至我们整个的 mindset 好，我们的观念上，这些都是他们调查出来认为是新的应该要了解的一些 topic。
All right, so you can see software, of course, is something very important. It is totally new, all right? And then we have also the agility. So how to run an agile team versus waterfall. It's a new topic also for the quality manager. And also the issue on automotive cybersecurity and also on homologation, because quality takes a much more important role also for homologation. Usually it was always only R&D.
好的，所以在这上面有4个新的主题哈，尤其是软体品质，还有敏捷式管理 agility， 还有呢汽车业的网络安全，以及因为汽车业它也法律关系哈，所以它的刑事的一些认证呢，通常比其他行业都还要来得久。
And we have a gap here, you see, of 2. Where should be the target, or where we are actually is here with 0 knowledge, but the target should be, we should have at least a 2. That means advanced knowledge, all right? So actually there's a big gap. Also here we see a gap of 0 knowledge so far, but we should have at least a knowledge of 1, so basic knowledge. Yeah, same for agility, we need basic knowledge, and for spies we need basic knowledge. Where we're very strong is VDA 6.3 and ERTF. That is good, that should stay like that, but we need new qualification for the quality guys.
所以在这个画面上呢，这个淡蓝色的话呢，只是他们认为应该要达到的一个水准哈。那很多都是在这个 advanced 比较就是高阶的这样的水准。但是你会看到很多，其实这个深蓝色则是代表我们目前实际的一些状况，他们自评目前实际的状况，在很多 topic 上面你会发现我们是远远没有办法符合我们的目标的，包含这个 homologation， 还有呢 spice 啊、软体agile 等等这些主题都是没有办法达到我们目标。目前我觉得 OK 的，大家都觉得 OK 的，则是 VDA 6.3以及16949这样子传统的一些条文要求。
We have also some yellow areas. I don't go too deep into that one. You can read that later. By the way, we also sharing this presentation where we also need to work on the qualification because there's a gap from existing knowledge and future expected knowledge for quality manager. So here's a summary of that. So it means digitalization really requests a new thinking in the quality, and maybe we go more into a matrix function, and we need to go definitely into new fields. This is very important.
这边还有提到哈，黄色这边呢，只是在未来，尤其是会遇到的新的一些概念，这些也都是未来我们会遇到的一些挑战。
All right, so now here you have an overview, and I don't know if you've heard about it, this WNEVC regulation 155 and 156. That's actually about cybersecurity and also about software updates over the air. And this is a regulation which become a requirement in the future, and I show you the timeline just afterwards. So we, VDA, has worked on automotive cybersecurity standard and also a software update standard. And we also have the ISO standards here, the SAE, ISO SAE 21434, and also the auditing guidelines, which the ISO pass 5112. And for road vehicle software updates, we also have an ISO standard. So all that works together, and this will become part of the homologation for a vehicle, at least in Europe.
是的，在 UNEVC 这样子的一个结构下，它是欧盟下面的一个组织，那它去主导了一些相关的一个标准，有 R155，所谓的 R156。除此之外呢，在接下来还有 VDA 有这3个相关的一些标准。那在 ISO 呢也有相关的，比如说 ISO 21434、ISO 5112，还有 ISO 24089等等这些 ISO 相关的一些标准。在荧幕上面你所看到的这些标准呢，则是会未来变成欧系，尤其是这个车子要在欧洲销售、欧盟销售这是你一定要符合的 homologation 这些法律法规的要求。
So let's focus first on the automotive cybersecurity, and I would like to show you the roadmap actually.
我们接下来看汽车业的软体安全。
So on the next page, you can see here actually all this ISO SAE 21434. That's actually a cybersecurity management system requirement, like an ISO 9001 for quality management, but only for cybersecurity. So there you can see it becomes published in Q3 in this year. And then for Europe, I'm talking about Europe, then it becomes mandatory. So this gray box indicates when you need to start actually building up a cybersecurity management system, because by January next year, you should start with your audits, because it's getting an obligation, at least in Europe, to become a release card to get the certificates, the homologation in place, the type approval, by summer next year. And this is pretty soon. So that means this is very tough, and when we even look into Japan, they want to do that even a little earlier. So they want to start already with January 2022 to get it a part of the type approval. So that means, with other words, everyone needs to build up a cybersecurity management system which needs to be certified at the end. And Volkswagen, BMW, and Daimler, they're also requesting that for critical suppliers, of course, for those who have an impact on cybersecurity. If you just produce tires, for example, or any other injection molded part, then it's not a big issue. But if you have, of course, cybersecurity chances for cybersecurity incidences, then you need to have this system in place and an audit.
好，所以在这个 roadmap 上面，你可以看到这个时间点，在这2个红色的 ISO 标准上面呢，在这时程表呢，他们是预计在2021年的 Q3 发布。但是在下面呢，2个蓝色的这个2个时程表上面看到，尤其是针对欧盟的一些市场，尤其像是比如说 OEM 这样子的角色，如果你要贩售汽车到你的市场上面呢，在明年的2022年1月起，你应该就要导入并且接受cybersecurity 网络安全的一些稽核，因为在2022年的7月的时候呢，这些车厂，你的产品，你的车就应该要符合 cybersecurity， 要有这样子的证书，你才能销售，你才能符合所谓的 type approval， 你的产品呢才能被市场上核准上市。所以你可以看到，其实这时程是非常赶的。那甚至呢，以 Japan 下面这个最下栏这边Japan 呢，它是日本呢是希望甚至再早一点在2022年的第1月就有这样子的要求。 那当然，这边还有刚刚铁教授还有提到，当然是你的产品里面呢是如果有受到网络安全攻击的话，你需要考量这样子的标准。如果你的产品还是纯体硬件哈，比如说你只是生产轮胎这样子的产品的话，当然不会受到影响。
South Korea will also follow this one. How we are dealing in China, we have currently dialogue with Qatar and MIIT, but currently we don't know. They will definitely implement this ISO SAE 21434 because they're also working on that one, but they have other ideas how they want to implement the cybersecurity management system request in China.
南韩的话呢，会 follow 会参考这个日本的要求。那在中国的这个监管单位就是 Qatar 哈，当然他们目前 VDA 中国卫地安还在跟他们做讨论，他们的决定还不是很明显，应该推测应该是会 follow ISO 的标准，但是呢，他们还有在考量他们一些市场上还有自己国家的一些标准。
All right, so maybe next chart here, just very short. That is our automotive cybersecurity standard. I showed you this overview already before, and that is what is looking like at the content.
那接下来给你看一下这个 cybersecurity 哈，汽车业网络攻击、软体这个管理系统集合哈，它整个章节架构如上。
So it has been already released in November last year, and we are currently translating it. So beginning of April, we hope we have that ready in Chinese for you. Then you can study it. The main part is the questionnaires in this one. So that are the questions, what you need to fulfill to have a cybersecurity management system in place, and how do you do an audit on cybersecurity management systems.
好的，英文版在去年的11月已经发布，中文版则预计在今年的4月发布。那由这个整体的架构，你可以看到最重要的就是第5章节 questionnaire 提问表的部分，这也是所谓的基本要求，还有这个稽核的一些基础条款。
All right, here you have an overview about all the 21 questions. You can see that here in this way, going around this way. Yeah, you can see all the questions here, right?
总共有21个章节提问表分为21个章节，在画面呢则是顺时针从右上角、右下角、左下角、左上角这样子顺时针的一个方向是做章节的安排。
In total is only 21 questions, and I just want to highlight one important question. That's question 7.5. Is a process established to respond on cybersecurity incidences? That is one question which is very important.
好的，那这其中总有20个问题，我们取其中的7.5来做详细的讨论。这是遇到骇客攻击网络事件攻击的时候，你要怎么去做响应、反应相关的要求。
So that is here now the one on the next page. So you see here the questions in Chinese, also with some bullet points, what you need to take care of. And we always have a guidance also for the auditors with some examples. So this is explained here in blue. But because of the time, I cannot really go very deep into that one. And I will also skip some charts afterwards.
好的，在左边绿色呢，则是这个7.5它详细的要求。当然，手册里面呢还会提供使用者他应该要有什么样的范例这些文件符合的一些具体范例。右边呢则是稽核员的稽核指南。
Okay, so every question, of course, needs to be evaluated in this way, and then we come up at the end with an ending passed. Measurement needed, like we know for quality management systems, or not passed. That is the result.
的上一页比较太跳速大家可以下载再去看，那是它评分的一些机制。那这边最后的总结呢，就是我们熟悉的交通灯。
All right, then we also have, of course, the OTA issues, where we also have a booklet, which is, I said that already, a part of product safety and integrity. And therefore, we have this product integrity standard.
好的，接下来我们关注的是 OTA 软体线上更新。那大家要把它跟 PI 产品诚信同一个手册一起来做讨论。
So all those standards are aligned with each other. So for product integrity, actually, we have now this new standard, recall management using over-the-air updates. That is only for the recall case. And there's a free download also on our webpage. You can download it. It's translated in Chinese and it's free of charge for you. So if you're interested, read it.
好的，那除了 PI 呢，我们就建立在一个新增的一个手册，就是跟召回管理，而且是特别是用软体线上更新。那这个呢，中国微 VDA 已经有翻译成中文，而且呢有提供在他们的网站上面提供给各位免费下载，所以这边也鼓励大家可以上网下载参考。
So maybe I skipped this slide. What is very important, if you have a recall, you can, if you decide to have a recall, you can use OTA, and you don't need to call actually the cars back to the dealers. You can just do a software update, and therefore you need to prepare, of course, the software update. Then you need to perform the action afterwards and see if all the software updates have been done properly. You need to have a fallback solution. Then you need to do an effectiveness test of all the software updates, and afterwards the lessons learned. So that is what we're talking about for OTA here and recall.
在 OT 里面呢，指涉到的是因为这些新的这个线上更新的技术，所以在做召回的一些处置的时候呢，你不需要把车主把它开回原厂保修，而是你可以透过软体更新的方法来做一些调整。但是呢，在后续的你还是需要做 perform action 这个阶段呢，要去确保，尤其是你要去确保这些更新呢是已经把这些 issue 解决掉，然后必须要把它纳入到我们的经验教训经验中。
All right, so very shortly, I would also like to come to agile collaboration, because I think also in Taiwan, very often agile, let's say, project teams are in place. And in particular, when we deliver or when we develop software, we use agile collaboration or agile working groups.
好的，接下来我们会讨论所谓的 agile。那 agile 呢，就是所谓的敏捷式管理，应该在台湾呢也是非常常泛用使用的一些专案管理的方法。
So there, I don't want to talk too much about those details, but I think you're all familiar with agile projects. What is the point? At the beginning, we don't define all the specification. We do that with a very close loop to the customer. We can always update our specification, and then we can adjust. That's different in a V model, or we call it also waterfall. You define it at the very beginning, and then you have the V model, then you improve, and at the end, when the project is ready, you have a lessons learned, you can improve. But agile, of course, it's created for software development, so you have much more loops and much more feedback from the customer, which will also make the customer at the end more happy.
在旧式的专案管理里面是所谓的 V model 哈，就是所谓的瀑布式的管理，在一开始把全部的要求都定义好呢，再用 V model 的方式来去做验证。在新的敏捷式管理呢，我们的一些开始的要求呢，也许是部分的，但是呢，它是持续滚动式的，更频繁的跟我们顾客去确认这样的要求，以及验证它是符合顾客要求的是更频繁的跟顾客做沟通。
So a new standard has been released, but I would like to share with you what is most important in the standard, and also what we should think about. That is actually the Scrum team members, all right? I think maybe you're familiar with Scrum. We have a product owner, we have a Scrum master, we have a development team, all right? But how do they take care about compliance issues? How do they care about standards? How do they take care about product safety, functional safety? That is a good question.
好的，这个是我们一般来说在 Scrum 团队里面你会看到的一些基本的一些角色。那但是在这样子的团队里面，他们怎么去解决、怎么去鉴别产品安全还有产品符合性的要求呢？在我们 Scrum 的这个团队里面是看不到的。
So we think you need to implement in those teams the product safety and quality representative right now. And he can be there also in a cross matrix. So he needs to take care, of course, about functional safety issues, and also in regards to fulfill all the legal requirements. Because if they have nice ideas, but at the end they are not compliant because they don't feel requested GB standards in China, then they can develop something, but at the end that will not be fruitful because it needs to be changed anymore. That is why there needs to be always a product safety or quality representative included into the team.
好的，所以这边在 VDA 手册里面就建议我们要在这个阶段呢，就纳入产品安全以及管理品质的代表这样子的角色。也是在一开始鉴别各地的一些法规的时候，在这个阶段就应该早期鉴别，所以后面的一些开发才被后面的 project fail 了。
Coming to one of my last charts, also when we think about automotive spies and we think about process audits, currently today the link in between is not very good, okay? And the next chart is representing this very clear.
在目前呢，我们会看到 ASPICE 汽车业软体上跟我们实际上看到制程管理 VDA 它之间的连接并不是很好。
When we're looking to VDA 6.3, we mainly use it for P5 to P7, so in series production. Well, we don't use it very often for project management. So you can say 80% of all the orders are focusing on the serial production. When we're looking to a SPICE, they are mainly looking on the product and process developing process, of course, for software, but also you can use it for hardware. So, but automotive SPICE is very seldom used in series production.
在这张图你就可以看到 VDA 6.3呢，在实际应用上80%都是在量产启动就是已经批量生产这样子的阶段，那很少是用在这个产品或是过程开发这样的阶段。ASPICE 呢，当然你可以做软体跟硬体相关的开发，一起做管理，但是大部分使用的时间都还是在开发的阶段，并不是在量产以后的阶段。
So the question is how we have an interface from all the findings we have in an ASPICE audit, even if it's on a project level, into the series production. And that is what we want to work on also in the revision of the VDA 6.3. So I think that's quite interesting, and let's see how the standard will be adjusted.
那我们现有的 VDA 6.3就有提到要去留意跟软体之间的 interface， 所以呢，新版的 VDA 6.3呢，它会朝向如何将 ASPICE 的稽核结果连接到我们的 VDA 6.3稽核里面，这也是未来新的 VDA 6.3改版一个非常重要的一个方向。
All right. With this one, I come to my very last charts. Sorry for the time here, but I would like, if it's okay, Heidi, let me know, right? I would just like to share at least some little thoughts about the WNEVC for new energy vehicles, where we had actually the summit, the meeting in Hainan last year, September.
No problem, Tilman. I think we all enjoy your presentation. We still have some time. I have Sarah sitting next to me. She says, okay, please go ahead. Share.
All right, fine. Okay, good. So then let me share with you, that was a very important actually meeting organized by the government here in China, also from the recall authorities, DPAC here. They were making actually a closed door summit in regards of recalls for new energy vehicles. Because of course we have a lot of fire cases in China, and it's very severe because when we're launching new technologies and we have fire cases, this is scaring customers and they are very much afraid and maybe they don't want to buy those cars anymore. So we were talking what we have to do to make the design and also, let's say, to solve those problems and to make the design more robust. That was a conference.
对，在这个研讨会 conference 里面特别讨论到，就是在过去1-2年呢，这些新能源车呢，在市场上有很多非常严重的一些事故，尤其都是火烧车这样的事件，所以市场上是已经开始有些疑虑。那所以在这个研讨会里面呢，他就讨论到，这些新能源车可能是一些新的一些技术或是新的一些概念，还有怎么去做比较良好的、稳健的一些设计来避免这样子的一些风险。
And the German automotive industry is cooperating very much with China. You can see here the German ambassador was there. That is our president from VDA, and that is the president of Volkswagen, Herbert Dies. I don't know if you're familiar with this, guys. All right. So it was really a very high-level discussion.
与会者呢，也都是一些非常重要的角色包含德国在中国的外交大使，还有 VDA 的这个主席，以及 Volkswagen 的总 CEO 这个老板也都出席了。
老板 right. So what we discussed here was, of course, mainly about the NEVs and ICV launches, and China, of course, is the biggest market worldwide by far. And we will also launch further technologies, and we will also improve the technology here in China. So everybody is putting resources in engineering here to China. This is very important, first of all.
当然，目前呢，在这个新能源还有这个自驾技术上面，是一个最大的一个讲说是研发或是这个生产的一些场地都是。所以目前呢，全球的这些车厂或是这些技术厂商呢，都在中国投入这样子研发的资源。
So we were discussing about thermal runaway of batteries. That's what I said before, and how we can also improve the batteries. So for example, we were talking with CATL about an intelligent battery where we put already in the battery cells some sensors, and maybe we also will produce a chip, a semiconductor, where they can then, with artificial intelligence, analyze if some cell gets critical, and then they shut it off before we have any fire case. So that's quite important to really manage and to do the battery management in a better way. So that is what we discussed, but also a lot of other things. What kind of new requirements needs to be there to make the battery technology more safe for China?
好，在这里面呢，会议里面其中这是许多议题里面其中一个议题哈，特别提到这个电池管理的部分，里面也提及了我们可不可以用比如说人工智慧的方法来去做电池管理，在这个电池将近要寿命耗竭或是发生风险之前呢，我们就可以提前用远端或是用人工智慧的方法，用预测的方法就把这些可能会爆炸或是烧起来的这个电池就先把它关闭掉。
Then we were also talking about this, in the world so far discussed issue on cybersecurity, because cybersecurity is very important, and also China is taking very much serious care about it. You know that cars can also collect geographical data. Cars can be used also as a weapon if they're taking over. And that is reason why cybersecurity, of course, is something very important. And all those data also cars are collecting, they need to stay in China. Otherwise, it's a national security issue. So that is a very big topic in particular for the Chinese government here.
好的，当然在全球上面也非常关注的是所谓网络攻击哈，在汽车上面目前也都有联网的一些设备，所以怎么避免这个汽车遭受一些骇客或是网络上的一些攻击，这样子安全上也是非常重要的议题，尤其中国政府也是非常留意这样子的议题。
I think you have heard that Tesla cars always collecting, of course, geographical data wherever the cars are driving. So in this geographical data, they are leaking out and maybe even getting sent to the US. That is, of course, something which is then a national security issue and becomes a big topic. Yeah. So that was really very serious discussed, this issue over there.
像是比如说像 Tesla 这样子一些新型的一些车子，它都可以随时就是把这些你的行驶的一些数据，或是你现在身在何方，都可能把这样子的资讯传送到比如说国家单位啊，所以其实它都是有一些很多机密上或是资讯上的一些安全考量。
Then also very important is the real-time monitoring. I think that you know that all the NEVs and ICVs, they need to have real-time monitoring here in China. So that means they are sending, real-time monitoring data to the government here in China. And they were doing an analysis for, let's say, thermal runaways on the batteries on cars, and they were checking the RTM signals, and they found actually out that there was no clear indication before a fire case happened that there were any indication that the RTM data were showing something on the vehicle is critical. So they said also maybe we need to adjust this RTM data then in the future to also use artificial intelligence algorithms and big data to analyze if there would be a possible, let's say, thermal runaway coming up.
所以我们刚才提到，比如说电池起火燃烧，有可以用这个人工智慧的方法来去做提前预告、预知的动作。那当然我们就要靠 RTN， 就是即时的一些监控的一些技术。所以他过去做一些事件调查的时候呢，他甚至发现，在 RTN 做即时监控的时候都没有办法发现电池将有这个损坏或是燃烧这样子的一些绩效，所以呢，这两个技术 RTN 跟人工智慧或者甚至大数据之间，可以更做紧密的一些科技的一些结合，才可以达到我们刚刚提前预知这样子的一些功能。
And we also talked about, of course, the software updates because it's something very important. The recall authority want to know at any time what kind of software has been displayed to a car. And when they need to have an accident analysis, for example, that can be also thermal runaway of a car or a very serious car accident, which happening here in China, they need to know what kind of software release was on this car, or If they don't have that one, then they cannot not analyze it. And the other question is also, in particular, when we're coming to autonomous driving, one day, if we have artificial intelligence and we do software updates, do we need another homologation also and the type approval when we do have a software update? So that is also some very serious questions we discussed here.
所以这边还有提到啊，就是像 OTA， 如果我们刚刚有电池燃烧这样子的一些事件，然后车厂用了 OTA 的技术，灌了一些新的软体在车子里面去避免这样子的一些风险，那你的这个软体怎么去做确认？灌了软体以后，真的就可以有效避免吗？这个中间的这个确认，这些监管单位当然也希望有方法，你这个软体上面我可以去协助确认。还有未来我们都对自驾有很多一些期待，但是呢，一旦你的车子或是已经有自驾这样子的技术以后，你的车子有做软体更新以后，你是不是要再重新做形式认证，或是你的产品要重新做验证啊？所以在这个会议里面呢，有这样的许多相关的讨论。
All right, so sum up with all that, there are a lot of new GBs and GBTs which are in the pipe and will come for battery management, for NEVs and ICVs, and they also said very important, the compliance with the legal requirements needs to be assured, and they also said very clearly, in regards, the CEOs are not taking care about the laws in China, the GBs and GBTs for the new technologies, and they don't actually have compliant products in the market. They will personally be responsible for that one. So they have to pay the penalty, and maybe they also have to go to jail if there's really some serious accidents happened where people losing life, let's say.
所以在这个会议里面最重要的决定一个总结呢，当然就是相关的一些国家标准哈，尤其在中国会有很多相关技术新的国标去做治理。那对生产者来说，去符合相关的这些标准是非常重要的义务。那如果你的没有善尽这些善良人责任没有符合要求的话，最重要、最危险的后果可能就是你们的老板 CEO 可能就是要负刑事或是去关这样子的一些后果。
And that is also why we started now with management training. I think it's very important that management really needs to know about that one. Okay, and with this one, I would like to come to my summary.
那我们就来到总结啊。
All right, so first of all, very important to understand all the requirements, the legal requirement of China, the legal requirements worldwide, the general standards, and then also the OEM requirements and the VDA standards. You need to know about that one. Second one is the risk assessment. Then afterwards, you need to release all the products based on VDA 2, at least for the German automotive industry. And then after SOP, you need to have a problem solving, detection, and the field failure analysis in it, including social medias. You need to know what will be discussed about your product in social medias. And afterwards, you should have a lessons learned to always improve your products. Okay, so that is my summary. That are the 5 very important steps, which are a must for new technology launches, for a safe, actually, launch of new technologies.
所以在我们面对这么多新的数位化挑战呢，这个铁教授帮我们总结了5个重要的步骤。第一个呢，就是要详实的、确实的去了解相关的一些要求，不管是你客户的一些要求、汽车业的一些要求，或是国际标准的要求。再来呢，你要做确实的风险分析，然后按照 VDA 2，尤其是你是德系供应商的话，按照 VDA 2来去做相关的产品核准，然后在你的这个生产的时候呢，有做好的问题管理。那尤其是特别要注意我们这个社群媒体上面所 release 出来的一些新的一些消息。那一旦有任何改善的话，善用你的经验教训，去完整我们整个完整的PDCA 持续改善的循环。
All right, Heidi, thank you very much for your translation. Thank you very much for all you listening. I'm sure you will have more questions. Please get in contact with us and drive with us and also with ENCONA into your future. We have a lot of challenges and changes coming up because of the digitalization. Again, we're sharing this presentation with you. Whenever you have questions, please get in contact with us. And thanks again. 谢谢。
Thank you, Professor Tillman. We enjoy your presentation. 谢谢铁明啊。那他刚刚也是说，当然这个 presentation 里面，你们与会者你们可能都有许多不一样的提问啊。那当然你都可以后续联系中国VDA安，或是等一下呢，在这个问题栏留下你的问题。我们会后还有大概15分钟左右的 Q&A 啊，可以跟大家做分享。那谢谢我们的铁教授跟我们做分享啊，然后刚刚特别勉励大家，未来有很多挑战，但是呢，我们一起驶向未来。
Okay, thank you very much then, Heidi.